I know majority of us have heard inner child healing through a majority of therapeutic ways. Not a lot of us understand the concept of the inner child healing through a spiritual manner. And I know it may sound like an ambiguous concept or an overdrawn or just kind of cliche type of way of seeing life. But what if I told you that this one concept about the inner child really does affect not only your relationships, not only your friendships, not only how you see yourself, but the way you socialize, the way you perceive the world, and the way you actually are not only inflicting pain upon yourself and others, but neglecting seeing how who you are allowing yourself to be is not who you really are. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you this in-depth concept of the inner child and how it's going to change your self-concept. What is Gooch, beautiful beings? Welcome back, Awakened Ones, on another episode on Embrace the Ascension series with your homegirl, Brittany Fontanez. If you're new to this channel, so glad to have you here. Welcome, you true seeker. And on this channel, I am an energetic activator here to assist you to awaken things you have yet to see with your emotional awareness to go upon your spiritual evolution. Now, beautiful beings, let's dive right in to this one thing that's going to change your self-concept when it comes to your inner child. A lot of us don't understand that our inner child affects us in every area of our life. Our social skills, our confidence, how we perceive the world, and even how we see ourselves. And because of this, we are avoiding that inner work like the plague. We are avoiding seeing how that inner child is still keeping us in the past, regardless if we are adults. You see, a lot of us are unaware that we are unaware, meaning that since we are unaware, we kind of inherit that. And so a lot of us come from broken homes, come from alcoholic parents, or drug addict parents, or narcissistic parents. And a lot of us don't allow ourselves to perceive what our parents have gone through. Yes, majority of us may be aware of these cycles that we currently keep replaying, keep repeating through different energies, through same energies but different faces, or through the fact that we're experiencing things consistently, repetitively through our career, through our finances. We are aware of this, but we're avoiding understanding where the root of that repetitiveness comes from. A lot of us don't understand that majority of our parents have been through similar cycles in their life. So they kind of, being unaware that they're unaware, they have put all of that subconscious beliefs and mechanisms and characteristics within us. And since we are DNA connected to our parents, we end up inheriting all the things that they think, the way that they are, the way that they act. And because of this, we innately identify ourselves through our environment and become a product of it. See, for me, for instance, I come from alcoholic parents, family who violence, have been in a lot of corrupt things. And because of this, I innately inherited that and became what I resented, because they never done the things they need to heal themselves. Innately goes back onto the next generation, and it repeats that cycle until one person not only becomes aware of it, but they choose to break the cycle. They choose to go through the understanding of what it takes to actually understand self and discover self without being a product of your environment. Now, this concept of the inner child that I want to share with you guys is developing a skill. For me, on my journey, I realized that everything I've been through has caused my shame, my rejection, my abandonment wound, has caused my insecurities to be heightened, that caused me to be on the defense anytime I triggered and kind of blame the world. And because of this, I replay so many things that happened in my past. And I'm wondering, why is it that I'm still having these memories? And majority of us may believes that, we need to suppress those memories, or they just don't mean anything because thoughts don't mean nothing. But little do we know, those thoughts, those memories keep coming up to the surface because there's something trying to be cleared out within you. Your nervous system is trying to regulate itself because it's out of regulation. And it's bringing these thoughts, these emotions to the surface is because a lot of us don't understand. We're still operating out of that wounded side of what has happened to us, what we've been through, or even what our ancestors and our parents have been through, even if it's not our own shit. We don't allow ourselves to discover why it's there, because a lot of us think our emotions, we demonize them. We believe that they're trying to inflict pain onto us, trying to make us think that we're not good enough, trying to make us think that there's something wrong with us. And this concept builds our self-concept and it forms a dysfunctional identity about ourselves. The inner child is here to really help you develop skills in emotional intelligence, social skills, and even a self-concept that makes us proud of not what we've been through, but to understanding the lessons that it helped us build in order to become not a character, but to build a character that we are proud to be. And just know, this whole game of life is a game. So basically, we're playing multiple characters. What character do you want to play? Majority of us don't want to play the character that we currently are because it's filled with pain, it's filled with shame, it's filled with neglect, it's filled with abandonment. But the inner child, that version of us, is just our inner child trying to signal to us that it wants to break through, that it wants to be free and develop a new way of being, hence a new way of seeing a character, of being another version of ourselves. So I want to give you guys a perspective shift, a way to see the inner child. When we are triggered, when we are upset, it's like the inner child forms into what we call an inner demon. And so it lashes out. It brings the worst out of us. It brings all that shame, insecurity, and pain to the surface, and we inflict that onto the world. Now, the other way the inner child conceives is through we kind of overproduce, because as a child we didn't get attention, so we had to do something to distract ourselves. Or the fact that we don't like to get out of our comfort zone is because when we did and we expressed ourselves, we got rejected. So we don't do anything to overcome our fears. And the inner child is pretty much that part of us that expresses that deep joy, that deep love, that deep inspiration, but that intensity of truth and vulnerability. When it comes to building self-concept, it has everything to do with confidence. Confidence is a skill, and it took me a long time to be confident in who I am because of how rejected I was. I always have people judge me by how loud I speak when I'm in my joyful state. I had a lot of people reject me because I love too hard. I had a lot of people, judge me because I was willing to have courage to be who I want to be. And because of that, I pretty much closed myself out and isolated myself and made myself believe that being alone is the best way for me, when really all I want to do is connect. So I started realizing that the inner child is affecting the way I interact with people, build relationships, actually have connections, and actually understand how much of a blessing and a beauty that I am to this world. So I see the perspective of the inner child as, we want to do everything we can to create the life that we want, but we feel like we're holding ourselves back. If you look, your mind is like a garden and your thoughts are seeds. The water is your actions. All we are doing is we keep taking action towards creating what we want, trying to be in control because we have all these fears. We have all these insecurities. We will have all these goals that we want to accomplish because we want to prove ourselves. We want to feel worthy. We want to put those haters to rest and show them how what they did to us was messed up and how they're hating now. All of that stems from the inner child that feels broken. But our self-concept of ourselves makes us believe that if we think we're broke, we think we're broken. But what if we're just trying to break through? What if the inner child is here just trying to help us break through, to make a new heart, to allow the old heart to be put to rest? And what I meant by that perspective of The water is your actions. Your mind's a garden, your thoughts are the seeds. All of us are just trying to take so much action, trying to be in control of everything, and we are avoiding the fact that we are drowning ourselves, our dreams, our thoughts, overproducing, overworking ourselves to the point of exhaustion and depletion. And the kicker here is, in order to understand your confidence, your joy, your true self, is that you need the sun. Meaning you need your emotions to allow all those actions to crystallize, to allow those thoughts to grow, allow those versions, that vision of you to grow. But a lot of us neglect the emotions, which is where the inner child lies, which is where the second consciousness of yourself lies, is your heart. A lot of us don't want to go into the heart and, I wouldn't say do the work, but to understand, why is it feels hurt? Why is it still holding on resentment? Why is it that it feels like there's always a dark cloud around you? It's because you're not willing to see your pain. You're not willing to acknowledge what is hurting you. And because of this, you're only operating out of that pain. You're only operating out of that side of the inner child that's keeping you in the past. You may be a 30-year-old, but you may still repeating a cycle or an experience when you were 10 years old. This is why there's a lot of adult children, I would say, in this world, because a lot of us are avoiding what is going on the inside. We're lacking that vulnerability, and we're also lacking that accountability to be there for ourselves and reparent ourselves. So the way to allow that sun to come through, that sun to allow the plants, the version of you, to absorb that water, which means that your actions can facilitate and actually help the universe co-create with you, because the inner child affects your manifestation as well. Allow yourself to understand the feeling is the secret, like Neville Goddard said. Feeling is the secret. And I'm applying this to this concept is because in order for us to understand joy, we got to tap in to that part of us that was so excited to come to earth when we were born. But the more we grew up, the more we've forgotten that we were a child first, that we were a present to this world. And when we could get ourselves back into that concept, we understand how worth comes to play. We understand how confidence comes into play. You cannot create anything in your life. You cannot feel fulfilled with receiving and allow yourself to keep it and feel like you're worthy of it unless you understand how the inner child is hurting and to help it understand how worthy it is and how loved and lovable it is. It's kind of like when you look at a bow and arrow. The more you pull it back, most of us are just holding the bow and arrow because we're resisting. We're resisting understanding what's going on inside. But the more you allow yourself to weed out what is hurting you, what is not serving you, where did it come from, what is the root of it, the more that arrow pulls back, the more the inner child feels confident that it's going to strike and aim exactly where it wants to go. Exactly at what it wants to create and bring into your life. This whole concept, this is a different concept I want to bring to you guys, because this is innately a deep spiritual lesson that all of us need to go through. Majority of us understand healing through a therapeutic concept when you go to therapy, but it's deeper than that. It's so much deeper than that. Nothing will allow you to understand joy and to understand how loving you are and how much of a beauty you are to this world until you understand what made you feel like you weren't. Until you understand that your number one priority is to do that inner work and to see the part of yourself that feels hurt, then everything else will take care of itself, because you're shifting your vibration, you're shifting your energy, you're literally morphing your imbalanced DNA into morphing it into balance. And that is called regulating your nervous system. Is because you're learning how to get unfamiliar with what's familiar and start to become familiar what was unfamiliar to you. Meaning that you're familiar with the pain, you're familiar with people leaving you, you're familiar with the concept of, oh, this always happens to me, so I'm used to it. Regardless if it's painful. You're learning how to get unfamiliar with that and start to build a part of yourself from the healing that you're doing and realizing, wow, like, not only do I feel worthy of receiving and having, multiplying and investing, meaning in myself, and having that part of myself that feels good, and having everything that I want in life, and doing that and building yourself into those concepts, you start to realize it becomes easier to not want to associate with that old version of you. It becomes easier to want to heal. It becomes more joyful to do that shadow work, to do that inner work, to reparent your inner child and go through those past memories and put yourself in those scenarios as a parent and give that love to your inner child. It starts to feel good to do that work because you start to realize that slowly but surely you start to feel good about yourself. You start to build yourself. You start to have confidence. And the number one thing that I feel that I've learned on my journey that's really helped me build my confidence is having acceptance of rejection. And that's why a lot of us don't want to do this work, because we feel like we're rejecting ourselves. But there's nothing wrong with doing the work and recognizing that if you don't do the work, you're rejecting yourself. But when you start to recognize what's going on inside, and you give yourself that internal attention, it's like you're giving yourself permission to say, I no longer want to hate on myself the way the world has pushed me down. I want to love on myself. I want to understand myself. I want to understand this concept of who I have yet to see about myself. And what I meant by accepting rejection. You got to accept the things that's happened in your life that's brought this pain, that's brought you a separation towards your inner child. You have to accept that. And if you could go into the world accepting that people are going to reject you, people are going to abandon you, people are going to hurt you, people are going to manipulate you, use you, they're going to try. Because the more you heal yourself, the more you become very, very aware of people's intentions. And people are going to try these things, but when you become acceptable to the fact that you will get rejected, and you start to change your perspective to see that, hey, maybe this wasn't meant for me. It hurt. I want it. But maybe that wasn't meant for me, and it's okay. The one moral I live by for, I would say, a couple years already, and it has massively, really, really brought so many beneficial results, is that I always believed that anytime anything or anyone leaves my life, something better has to replace it. Not something better will replace it. Something has to replace something better. And it always has. Because of the amount of belief I have built in myself and the amount of confidence I've had to realize that the more rejection I go through, the more I'm building this character who can withstand what is painful, who can overcome what is hurtful, who can recognize that whatever pitfall, whatever adversity I'm going through, I have the power to overcome it. Even if I'm not clear at that moment, clarity will come. And it all takes just accepting what you've been through, accepting what has happened, but also giving yourself permission to accept that, yeah, I have allowed myself to be this version that causes self-infliction. But now I give myself permission to say no more and accept that I'm going to grieve that old version of myself because I was so used to it. Now you're not identifying yourself with these circumstances. You're identifying yourself by the spirit that you're holding, by the spirit that you have, by the optimism, by the willingness to learn the lessons, not just be aware of what's going on, but learning the lesson behind why things are going on. And you start to realize that circumstances change on their own. Things change on your own because you allowed your vibration to change. You allowed your energy to change. You allowed yourself to morph into something that you never knew was possible or existed. Well, you probably knew existed, but you never gave yourself a chance to see who can help you be. So other than that, beautiful beings, that's all I wanted to share with you today, is understanding this concept of the inner child and how it will radically change your life. And if you're wrong, any sense of healing, clarification, or any ideas for you to start getting out your comfort zone and doing things that made you feel like made your inner child feel like you needed protected, so you kept it safe and didn't go out and dress the way that you wanted to do the things that you want to do, I hope this gave you the ability to understand that this is your confirmation to go do those things. This is your confirmation to go trust yourself. This is your confirmation that it's time to no longer ignore the pain, because it's going to keep lingering and you're going to keep living it. So might as well go through it and see what's on the other side. So other than that, beautiful beings, if you enjoyed this video and it brought any insight for you, please hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and hit that notification button so you'll be notified when I post new videos. Until then, you guys, stay safe, healthy, and blessed, and I'll see you on the next one. Only love.